Gregg is a Republican and ranking member of the Senate Budget Committee. He's my guest now. Senator, good morning to you, and welcome back to
Thanks,
America's
Bill.
Newsroom. I saw the story that happened just a day ago about spending, and all these lawmakers in the Senate side got together and said we're sick and tired of it. Now, is there a sudden change in Congress and concern about the deficit and away from the monster spending we've seen over the past year and a half?
Well, we're going to find out today. Yesterday, I offered a budget point of order against the bill because it had $79 billion of deficit spending in it, and that's totally inappropriate. And interestingly enough, 12 Democrats did vote with all the Republicans in sustaining my point of order. But today, they're bringing back another bill, and guess what? It has $50 billion of deficit spending in it. So I don't think they learned very much.
Well, do you think that'll pass?
It was a I guess it was like a $12 billion lesson, maybe.
Do you think this $50 billion bill will pass because the previous offer was rejected?
Well, they've structured it in a way where I can't make a point of order against it. And I suspect that they're going to try to get their 60 votes in line to pass it. I hope it won't pass. There's no reason that we should be continuing to run up these deficits and this debt and passing it on to our kids. You know, since the Democrats passed their alleged pay-go bill, which was going to discipline spending around here, they have put through almost $200 billion of spending, which violated their own pay-go rules. That all goes on the debt. It all goes on the deficit. It was all deficit spending. It goes on the debt. We're going to have a $1.4 trillion deficit this year. Every cent is going to have to be paid back by our kids. And next year, we're going to have an over $1 trillion deficit. And the year after that, the president's budget projects another $1 trillion deficit. We're doubling the debt in 5 years, tripling it in 10 years. We're running our country into a ditch here, and our kids are going to be left with a less prosperous nation, a lower standard of living, and it's just not right.
Now, George Voinovich is a Republican out of Ohio. He says, I've gotten to the point where I've had it. Susan Collins, Republican from Maine, she says, I'm very concerned about the cost of this bill, which again reflects the original premise for bringing you on today. But the White House is arguing again, and the president will tell you, elements of the current bill in the Senate, they're essential to economic recovery. So his point is we got to keep on spending. Now, your view on that is what?
No. I mean, what we need for economic recovery is to show the American people and the world that we're going to be fiscally disciplined. We have to put in place policies which say to the world, listen, we're going to be able to afford the debt we're running up. We're not going to end up like Greece or like in the direction that Spain's going in. We're rather going to make the tough decisions to get our deficits and debt under control. I think if we did that, we would release huge energy of economic activity in this country because people would see the future as positive. What people are seeing now is a future where they really don't know what's going to happen. They see massive tax increases coming at them, maybe inflation coming at them, all to pay this huge debt and deficit which is being run up by a government which is spending out of control. You know, the American people intuitively understand this. They know you can't spend like this and get away with it for long.
You may face a vote to freeze federal employees' salaries. You may also face a vote to cut 5% of all discretionary spending outside of military spending. I'd imagine that's something you'd be on board, but I think just listening to you, you want more than that. And if I could just get your view on this energy legislation, I know what the Republican position is. If you want to raise taxes, forget about it. If you want to run jobs out of America, you can forget about it. But as it stands right now, are you willing to go along with some sort of clean energy alternative that would provide tax incentives for business in America to build the wind turbines so that we don't have to buy them from China? Would you go for that?
It is critically important that we have a wholly different approach to energy policy in this country. We can no longer afford to send $300 billion a year overseas to people who hate us to buy their oil. I mean, that's just wrong. And we've got a policy to do that. We've got proposals to do that. I support the White House and I support the President's initiatives in nuclear power. We think there should be many more nuclear power plants being brought online. I believe, and the Republican position in the Senate is, that we should move to hybrid electric cars. So that we reduce the amount of pollution, but we also reduce the need to buy oil. And we should use American resources. We've got massive amounts of natural gas in this country. We should be able to develop a clean coal technology. On wind and solar, yes. But you got to remember, wind and solar only make up 2% of our energy right now. If you quadruple it, that's 8%. However, nuclear makes up 20% of our energy. If we double it, we get 40%. So let's look where we can get the best bang for our buck, and it's in areas like nuclear and natural gas.
Well, the French have done quite well with nuclear. We'll see if we follow suit. Gregg, the Republican from New Hampshire, thank you, sir, for coming back today.
Thanks a lot.
It's good to have you on.